Hello everyone! In this video we're going to be building a starter home for a vampire family. This was suggested by a viewer of the channel, so if you have any suggestions you can leave them in the comments and I'll be happy to read them. I already had some plans for building something for vampires because I got that pack for Christmas and I have been really enjoying playing with them. But I was thinking something more along the lines of a medium-sized home, still in a Victorian style, but definitely not a tiny house and not a starter. But since they announced the Castle State kit is coming out pretty soon, I'm going to be building a vampire castle. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to build for this video, I thought about how I got that suggestion for a vampire starter home, and I thought why not build this now and then just go crazy on the vampire castle, which is what I'm planning to do as soon as the kit comes out. But anyway, now we have the basic shape of the house. There's a balcony and there's this bump out that is supported by these wooden pieces from Get Together, and I also wanted the roof to be very pointy, and that's because my priority in this build was to have lots of little architectural details and the inside could be somewhat bare. So I really wanted to have stuff like this fencing, the fancy windows from vampires, which are thankfully not super expensive. Also the spandrels and the columns. I ended up not keeping these columns because I found some from Debug and that allowed me to save a lot of money. And also I made sure to playtest that because I did have to move it slightly so that teams were still able to use the stairs and come into the house. Anyway, this is what the outside is going to look like for a very long time. I painted it all in red except for the tower, which I thought would look really cool in a grayish contrasting color. And for the front door and the door that leads into the balcony, I used doors from the base game. The front door is this very cheap medieval looking door, which I thought was perfect for a starter home. And all the flooring that I am using here is also from vampires. I am using a stone outside and inside I have tile and a wood flooring. Though I do change the wood to be the other wood that comes with vampires a bit later on. Now I am thinking that I want to have a bathroom downstairs and the kitchen next to it, but I felt it was a bit weird to have the kitchen right where you come in if it's a house for vampires. They don't need to cook, so it was a bit weird for it to be like so prominent in the build. So I ended up moving it to the front of the house next to the stairs, and I ended up having the bathroom upstairs. And for the kitchen, I really wanted to use the vampire counters, but they are so expensive, so at some point in the build I was realizing that I needed more money, especially because I wanted to have 2 bedrooms in the house, and one of these is a nursery because vampires comes with a bassinet, so I thought that would be cute. But I did keep the fridge and the stove from Cottage Living because it's some of the cheapest stuff that I have in the game, and I really loved how the grey and black looked in here. So I felt that was worth keeping even if vampires don't use kitchens normally. But anyway, now you can see that I have some idea for what I wanted to do with the living room and the stairs. This actually took quite a few tries because I wasn't happy with how this space was looking. Floor planning this was a lot more difficult than I was expecting, but it did stay as a small home. It's, I think, in the end 97 tiles. And to add to the challenge, I also wanted this to be something of a limited pack build, so I only used Get Together, Vampires, Cottage Living, Paranormal, and Discover University, and I think I only used one item from University, and that's the fireplace, which was probably by accident, so you can just delete that if you want. Making this limited pack was a bit of a challenge because I really wanted this to have a certain style, which is totally possible with these packs, but I also had a budget. But now the kitchen is coming closer to its final form. It's still not perfect, but I really redid this several times and I think I actually cut out some of it. But now we can see that there's going to be a bookshelf in this house. I don't end up keeping that one, especially because it was from the Book Nook kit and it was going to be the only item from that. So I changed that out for a desk and I just put some books on top of the fireplace. But now you can see that I also changed the flooring for these other wooden flooring from vampires, and I also used this tile from the same pack. At first I was just thinking this was going to be a 1-bedroom house and there was going to be just a bathroom and the bedroom upstairs, but I thought that I could probably fit more than that in here, and in this version of it, there's the primary bedroom, the bathroom, and the nursery in these sort of strange shapes. And I had the desk in the hallway, but I ended up moving the desk downstairs and putting the bathroom in there, in part because of how awkward the main bedroom was, and I wanted there to be 2 coffins, and this shape was not going to work in that way. This is when I realized that if I wanted to add coffins, there just wasn't enough space for 2 of them. And by the way, if I was playing in this house, one of the first things that I would add once I had more money would be to upgrade the coffins, because I had to use the cheapest ones, and they look a bit out of place in such a beautiful room. But anyway, I have added that bassinet, and I also changed out the chair for the desk. I used this one from Vampires, which I think matches perfectly, but it is somewhat expensive, so I still kept the get-together chairs in the dining room downstairs, even if they do end up being in the same living space. But if you download this house and play in it, you can change stuff as you get more money. It's just a starter home, so it won't be so hard to do that, and if you're interested in downloading it, I'm going to have it up in the gallery under my ID, which is Veranio, and I will also have that link down in the description, in case that's easier for you to find. But as I was saying that a lot has happened in the build. I have started furnishing the bathroom and moved stuff around in the kitchen, and now it is almost at its final shape. I also changed the shape of this bump out, and also the house has become slightly bigger. This allowed me to have some more space, and so the downstairs is a bit less weird, and I was able to have a 3rd chair in the dining room, so if 3 vampires live in this house, the 3 of them can now use the dining table. And I have now moved the desk downstairs, and at the moment I have the bookcase next to the fireplace, and it looks almost built in, and I thought that was pretty cool. I also added that bird skull decoration from Vampires, which I also think is pretty cool, but it was somewhat expensive, and I think I do end up getting rid of that. So now upstairs I have now changed the floor plan a lot. I was thinking that since vampires don't need a toilet, it wasn't such a necessity for there to be a toilet in this house. So I was thinking maybe I was going to add the toilet in a separate room all by itself, because maybe these vampires pretend that they are just normal humans and have a toilet in their house. But I also decided at this point that that wasn't going to happen, though in the end I did make it work. I had a bit of a problem with the coffins. I was playtesting this all the time, and I had sims that weren't able to get in one of them at one point. So yeah, that ends up moving around quite a bit, and eventually in the final version of it, I did end up having enough space for the toilet and the coffins to be functional. But now here in the living room, I just ended up giving up on having those 2 couches, even if that meant having 4 seats, and I just added one of them in here. It's just a 3-seater couch, and I really wanted to have a chair in one of these corners, but I ran out of money. But it's a simple thing to add once you get some more money. But now I am once again changing the shape of this place because it was a bit strange and I wanted some more money. And also at some point I changed this house to be in a different lot, and actually it's now in the small lot that has the starter home, because I really wanted that extra 500 simoleons that I was losing by building in the empty lot here in Forgotten Hollow. And I think this is that point in the build when I am trying to get back as many simoleons as I can. So I changed the sink in the bathroom, so it's no longer that cottage living sink, which really fit this style and I really loved it, but it was slightly more expensive than the cheapest sink in the game. And also I eliminated the mirror because vampires don't reflect, so you don't need mirrors for vampires. But anyway, I have moved around some of the walls, and now you can see that there's a space for that separate toilet. That's something that I have seen in European houses, and I thought that since this house looked somewhat older, something like that made sense. But anyway, now we have finished the nursery and added curtains everywhere and the upstairs, and I'm going to be adding some curtains downstairs. I used the ones from the base game and from Paranormal because I felt that they fit this style best, and the Paranormal ones are a bit expensive, but I felt that it was worth it for the for the aesthetic of the house. So now the kitchen is at its final form. I changed the vampires counters for the cottage living ones, and I just made them black. I also used the sink from that pack because it was slightly cheaper than having the counter with a sink. And now we are finishing the main bedroom, just adding a rug using the modular rugs from vampires, and also adding some more clutter on the dresser. I used those sculptures that are actually free. They are from Debug. And one of the things that I really wanted to keep in this house despite running out of money was that really beautiful wallpaper that I have in the main bedroom. It's from Paranormal, and I think it's 80 millions, so it's quite expensive, but I thought that it really worked with the tapestry that comes with vampires. The colors were just perfect, and I just wanted to add some landscaping here, some vines, so that the side of the house wasn't completely bare. And I also found some of the statues that come with vampires in the Debug catalog, so they're the same as the ones that come in the statues part of the catalog, but they are free. And now I have just added some stuff, I think mostly from cottage living and vampires, as well as some Turin paint. And I also wanted to add some tombs in the garden. I just raised the terrain slightly so that it looked like the earth had been moved around a bit. And I also painted them with some dirt so that they would be a bit more apparent. And I also added a fishing pond, and also I added, I'm not sure what it is, I think it's part of a fence. It's also from Debug, and I added it to the tower so that it looked like it had a bit more detail. There's that kind of thing in Get Together and Vampires, but I really needed it to be free. I also thought that adding the fishing pond was cool because it fills out the lot without it costing any money. It also allows you to earn money. And if you have a vampire living here and they are the right level of, I think it's called vampire knowledge, they can use the fish to get plasma and just drink that instead of relying on Sims allowing you to drink or having to hypnotize Sims. But that's mostly it for this build. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you left a like and subscribe if that's something that you would be interested in. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.